Kevin Alcantara had one request. Just one. Not a starting spot. Not a contract. Not a place in the lineup or a guaranteed future in this league. Just a signature. A single autograph from the one player who had meant more to his journey in baseball than anyone else. The one player whose poster had hung on his wall as a child. The one player whose highlights he had studied, rewound, and studied again in the years before professional baseball was anything more than a dream. Shohei Ohtani. And Ohtani said no. According to multiple sources familiar with the incident, what happened between Kevin Alcantara and Shohei Ohtani before that game sent shockwaves through both dugouts the moment it became known. Because on the surface, the story looked simple. A young player asked for something. The biggest star in baseball refused. End of story. Except it was not the end of the story. Not even close. Because what Shohei Ohtani did immediately afterward, quietly, without cameras, without announcement, and without any expectation of recognition, left Kevin Alcantara standing in the middle of a professional baseball stadium with tears running down his face. And according to everyone who witnessed it, those were not tears of disappointment. To understand why this moment hit Kevin Alcantara as hard as it did, you first have to understand who Kevin Alcantara is and what the road to professional baseball cost him. Alcantara did not arrive in the major leagues easily. He did not glide through a system on the strength of consensus top prospect rankings and comfortable development timelines. His path was the kind that tests everything: patience, belief, physical resilience, and the ability to keep showing up on days when showing up feels like the hardest thing in the world. It has been reported that throughout his time in the minor leagues, Alcantara held onto a very specific image of what it would feel like to finally make it. To finally stand on a major league field not as a prospect or a possibility but as a player. A real player. Someone who belonged. And woven into that image, according to those close to him, was always the figure of Shohei Ohtani. Not as a rival. Not as an obstacle. But as a standard. As proof of what was possible when talent and obsession and an almost inhuman capacity for work were combined in a single human being. Alcantara had grown up watching Ohtani do things that baseball said could not be done. And in the moments when his own path felt impossible, it was that image, Ohtani refusing to accept the limitations other people placed on the game, that reportedly kept him moving forward. Which is why, when the schedule handed Kevin Alcantara a game against the Los Angeles Dodgers, he made a decision. He was going to ask. According to multiple sources with knowledge of the events of that afternoon, Alcantara approached the situation with the careful, respectful awareness of a young player who understood exactly what he was asking and exactly who he was asking it of. He did not approach carelessly. He did not interrupt. He waited for what he believed was an appropriate moment, before the formal pregame activities had fully begun, in the space where players from opposing teams occasionally cross paths near the field, and he made his request as simply and directly as he could. He asked Shohei Ohtani for an autograph. It has been reported that Ohtani's response was immediate. Not cold. Not dismissive. But firm. According to those present, Ohtani declined, explaining, briefly and without elaboration, that he did not sign autographs before games. That it was a personal policy. That the period before a game was time he protected specifically for his preparation and his focus. For Alcantara, according to multiple sources, the refusal landed harder than he had anticipated. Not because he believed Ohtani owed him anything. He understood the policy. He respected it intellectually. But understanding something and feeling it are two entirely different experiences. And in that moment, according to those who saw his face, Kevin Alcantara felt it. He nodded. He thanked Ohtani for his time. And he turned and walked back toward his dugout. According to eyewitnesses, he said nothing to his teammates when he returned. He simply sat down, picked up his bat, and stared at the field. But Shohei Ohtani had been watching him walk away. According to multiple sources present at the stadium that afternoon, approximately 20 minutes passed between Alcantara's return to the dugout and what happened next. 20 minutes during which, according to those familiar with the situation, Ohtani said nothing publicly. Made no announcement. gave no indication to anyone around him that anything was unresolved. And then he acted. It has been reported that Ohtani quietly located a member of the stadium staff and made a specific, private request. According to those with knowledge of what transpired, he asked that Kevin Alcantara be brought to a particular location, away from both dugouts, away from the cameras that line a major league field before game time, away from the audience that transforms private moments into public content. When Alcantara arrived at the location he had been directed to, Ohtani was already there. And according to multiple eyewitnesses, he was holding a baseball. What happened in those minutes, in that quiet corner of the stadium, has been described by those who witnessed it with a consistency that leaves very little room for interpretation. Ohtani did not simply hand Alcantara the baseball and sign it. According to multiple sources, he took his time. He signed it deliberately. And then, in the moment that, according to everyone present, changed the entire tone of what had preceded it, he spoke to Alcantara directly. Again, the specific words exchanged have not been fully confirmed publicly. Alcantara himself has not given a formal account of what was said. But according to multiple sources familiar with the exchange, Ohtani did not simply offer an explanation for his pre-game policy or a polite apology for the earlier refusal. He spoke to Alcantara about his game. Specifically, according to those present, Ohtani referenced things he had noticed about Alcantara as a player, details that made clear he had not simply been aware of the autograph request, but that he had been paying attention long before that afternoon. That he knew who Kevin Alcantara was. That he had seen him play. That the refusal earlier had nothing to do with indifference. According to multiple sources, it was at this point that Alcantara's composure broke entirely. It has been reported that he tried to maintain it. He is a professional. He understood where he was and what was at stake in terms of how he was perceived. But according to everyone who witnessed the moment, the tears came regardless. Quietly. Unstoppably. In the way that tears always come when something you have been carrying for a very long time is suddenly, unexpectedly acknowledged by exactly the right person. Ohtani, according to those present, did not make the moment uncomfortable. He did not step back or redirect the conversation. He stayed exactly where he was, steady, present, and completely unbothered by the emotion in front of him, until Alcantara had found his footing again. Word of what had happened spread through both clubhouses before the first pitch was thrown. According to multiple sources within both organizations, the reaction was unanimous, and it had nothing to do with the autograph itself. What struck people, according to those familiar with the internal response, was the deliberateness of what Ohtani had done. The refusal before the game had been a matter of principle, a boundary that Ohtani maintains consistently and without exception because his pre-game preparation is not something he compromises for anyone. Multiple sources confirm that this policy applies regardless of who is asking, regardless of the circumstances, and regardless of how the refusal might be perceived. But the 20 minutes that followed told a completely different story. Because Ohtani had not simply refused and moved on. He had paid attention to how Alcantara responded. He had registered something in that moment. And then he had quietly, privately, without any external prompting, done something about it. According to multiple sources, several Dodgers veterans described what Ohtani had done as entirely consistent with the person they experience in that clubhouse every single day. Not a performance. Not a calculated image management decision. Simply Ohtani being Ohtani, holding his boundaries firmly and then, within those boundaries, finding a way to take care of someone who needed it. According to people close to Alcantara, he spoke about the experience in the hours following the game, not publicly, not for the record, but in the honest, unguarded way that players speak when the competition is over and the real feelings are allowed to surface. It has been reported that Alcantara described the afternoon not as the day Ohtani refused his autograph request. He did not frame it around the refusal at all. He described it as the day Shohei Ohtani made him feel, for the first time, that the biggest player in the world actually knew he existed. Shohei shattered my dreams, Alcantara reportedly said at first, the words he used in the immediate aftermath of the refusal, before 20 minutes had passed and everything had changed. But according to those close to him, he has not used those words since. Because what came after the refusal made the refusal itself almost irrelevant. There will be many stories told about Shohei Ohtani over the course of his career. Records will be broken. Awards will be won. Highlights will be replayed for decades in the way that only the greatest moments in baseball history ever are. But according to multiple sources who were present at that stadium on that afternoon, the story of Kevin Alcantara and the autograph that was first refused and then given, privately, deliberately, and with a level of personal care that no one had anticipated, is the kind of story that reveals something the highlight reels never will. Ohtani holds his boundaries. He protects his preparation. He maintains his standards without apology and without exception. And within those boundaries, he sees people. Completely. Quietly. In the moments when they least expect it and need it most. Kevin Alcantara walked into that stadium hoping for a signature on a baseball. He walked out with something that no baseball could ever carry. He walked out knowing that Shohei Ohtani had